me and my wife, sat down and there was a game coming on TV, and it was the Bulls versus the Warriors. And, coming from Illinois, Chicago, my dad growing up, he was a Bulls fan, Michael Jordan fan. And I thought, maybe I'm a Bulls fan. But Steph Curry, I'm a Steph Curry fan. He's on the Warriors. So me and my wife watched that game together, and we're going to make a decision on who we're going to follow. That's the truth. We sat there and watched it. The Warriors smashed the Bulls, number one, but it wasn't that they won. It was how they were playing and the whole team and the dynamics with, Andre Iguodala. He's from Illinois, and I believe we played him a few times in summer camps and certain things. Sean Livingston, he's from Peoria.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went to Central Illinois, and I
you play?
I coached him.
Oh, you coached him. You coached him.
When I was a senior, he was in 6th grade, and I coached a summer team of 8th graders, but he was a 6th grader on the team. Amazing basketball player, even at 6th grade. He used to Coach, come on. He wanted me to go guard him, and he, 6th grader, and I'm in high school. He couldn't do nothing on me, but he just he had that confidence, and he could bust a three from anywhere back then too. He was just an amazing baller. Sean Livingston. And then just looking at all the players, I think Tiffany saw David Lee, and she was like, "Ooh, I like him," And so we just had
David Lee, bro. I haven't. Yeah, this roster's definitely in the beginning.
It is, and you had the Splash Brothers, and that was my introduction to Klay Thompson, and so I think it was like 2015 beginning season, and I was just like. We started watching the games, and that was the first time they won the NBA title. And even more so then was like we weren't truly a bandwagon team, fans. And so we just loved it, man. I mean, they got my high school. I would look at this, but this doesn't have it. But they had my high school colors, In high school, I was a Warrior. We were blue and gold. So everything just lined up, man. And I became a Golden State Warriors fan.
There's a portion in the book, Richie, where it says there's a shift in your perspective watching the Golden State Warriors. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, I record the games religiously. I watch them on Hulu. I got a Hulu subscription, which means that, and the reason I have a Hulu subscription is for the games, to watch the games. I'm sure there's a lot of outlets now, but at the time when I first started watching them, I didn't want to miss a game.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And you could record your games, and with work, I'd come back and watch them, trying to look at my phone and try to see, get into the game. But a lot of times I accidentally look at the phone, and if they lost, I why am I even watching this?
Dude, seriously.
And, but if they won, there was a reaction of how I watched the game. We had a podcast with David Sampiano, who came on, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, and shared a perspective he had when watching an MMA fight and how he would record the fight, and then if he saw who won and how his approach to it. And that kind of opened up my perspective on how I watch on those scenarios that happen to me when I'm watching a Warriors game. And it did. It changes just understanding when you have already won the game on how you look at things. And it was a moment, just the way, just looking at, okay, let me walk you through the scenario.
Yeah. I
record a game, I look, score, we won. We won by 3, close game, right? Cool. I always look stats. If Curry had 6 points, I'm worth watching, or what, but if he had 30, ooh, this is going to be a good game. And then I go look at first through fourth quarter, looked like fourth quarter was pretty tight. I'm like, okay, this is going to be an exciting game. So I'm going to go check this out, right? Sit down, watch the game. What I realized happens when you watch that game, you're just enjoying it first, second, third quarter, right? But in the fourth quarter, you're getting halfway through. I noticed some games when I'm watching in this scenario, we're down by almost 20 points with 3 minutes, 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, it's different when you're watching it with the anticipation of not knowing where it's going. When you're watching and you don't know the end and you already won the game, you're just kind of have this defeat come over you, right? Man, we're not gonna win.
We ain't coming back.
We ain't coming back on this one, man. And every shot they make, it's oh. like a depression comes over you. And but when you know you won the game, my reaction was like total opposite. I started like scooting up to the, like, oh my God. How is more, so the language changed, right? Like,
interesting.
The language changed. It changed from, oh, I'm excited to see how we're going to win, you know, versus like, oh man, we ain't going to win this. And that was it. Boom. Like, I understood what Pastor David was saying when he was on our podcast. It was a language change in my mind. That's what this perspective shift did, was like, how are we going to win this? Like, not like, oh man, how are we going to win? It's more like, oh man, how are we going to win this? Wow, I can't wait to see what Curry does in the last. So while I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, I start seeing it happening. It's unfolding. It's like, I got to that point where it's the valley low, right? You're down by 18, 3 minutes left.
It's scary.
And you're wondering where that valley low is. And a lot of times you don't know, even if you know the end.
Right.
You know, and so in my life, in these situations where we have really low valleys, you just have to go through it. And it's hard, man, because you don't know where that valley is. And even if you know the end score, right? You're just down there and you're just like, is this the lowest point? And then something else happens, like another turnover.
Right.
You know, they hit another 3. Now it's like 22 points down. And, you know, and you're just like, oh, I guess this is the low point, you know, and you never know where that low is.
We're
going to call it the low.
Speaking of lows, when we had that podcast with Pastor David, man, I can just tell he's just an incredible guy, just an outstanding guy. And when he talked about his lows, and mentions here quite briefly about his battles with cancer and coming back, and I believe it was the 3rd time that it came back.
Yeah, him and his wife and daughter just recently stayed with us. They flew here, stayed with us. They did their own thing, but they were able to. It's such a blessing to have them, stay at our house for, I think it was a week or so, and got to talk to him every night, sit down, have deep conversations again. He's one of my best friends, and hearing about his latest, challenges of going through chemo and certain things. I think they fasted and prayed. He did something I can't remember right now, before, so like 3 months or something. Yeah. Like and just went hardcore on just drawing near to God, and his story is so inspirational. And but I think he got off. I think he's officially off it, like everything, just living off faith right now. And he said it's been game changer. He's still alive, he's still healthy, he's still well, but I mean, he has the cancer that's healing in his faith, and we're all believing with him. So just hearing his perspective and how he looks at life, and he went through just recent lows, and just probably same thing, wondering how low does it go, and so just thinking back at the game, there is a point though where the data and trajectory changes, where it gets to a point where it hits the low, but then you got to come back and win, right? Because the score, I've already seen it, it's done, we've won, right? So where does the shift happen? But then you start noticing when it happens. Like in life, it'd be any kind of fruitful moment when all of a sudden, okay, a 3 got, Curry just hit a 3. Whoa, he just hit 3 threes in a row. He just got fouled. Oh, Thompson hit a 3 from the. Oh, I see what's happening here. It's you feel the momentum coming, right? It's like boom, boom, boom. Crowds are going nuts, and we're down by 2. And there was a game in 2015, I think, against Oklahoma City, and when Kevin Durant used to play for them, and
Westbrook guys are still on.
Yeah, they were down. I think they were down by it. I think that was one of the games I had to watch recorded. And it's all the way where it was tied, and Curry came and shot a half-court shot from the corner and won the game. They didn't even call timeout. And so, that perspective is just knowing that, in all our challenges and adversities that we go through, we have to have a belief system that we're overcoming it and we'll get out of it. Even to the point of death, I'm thankful that I have a perspective of eternity with Jesus, that even death is not an end game for me, because I believe I already won the game in there. The scenario of the afterlife as well, with the promise and hope that I have of my spirit living in eternity with God and Jesus. So
there's a verse, I'm pretty sure you know this. I think Paul talks about it in, I don't know, Philippians or something, where he says to live is
Christ and to die is gain.
Yeah. And it almost seems what do you call it? It's on that same wavelength, because whether he's here or he's not, he already has that perspective. Like, I won, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And then there's a reading this chapter, Richie. I know Pastor David mentioned something too. He says, or his perspective is whether he stays on this earth another day or not, he's already won. And his success lies in appreciating every second in the present with his family. And I was like, man, to have that perspective is such it's gold. It's gold.
Yeah, it's a language change.